Hello and welcome to episode 158 of the Rollo and Slappy Show. Actually, 159 of the Rollo and Slappy Show. I didn't have my notebook up to date. Today is August 26th, 2019. I'm Rollo McFlugel, and with me is Slappy Jones 2.
Now in our fourth year?
Yes. We are both from McFlugel.com. Show notes page for this episode is mcflugel.com/159, where you'll be able to find links to some of the stuff we talk about, and as well as checking out libertymugs.com, where we now have stickers, and we'll be posting new items soon in addition to that, and all the mugs and t-shirts that we otherwise have. So before we get started, I just want to kind of say something about this. Apparently, I had no idea. I don't know how to cook hamburgers because Bert Arkus made his triumphant. He took a week off from Twitter. Most people probably noticed because they just, for some reason, thought that Twitter was a better experience over last week. But he came back and saw the video of Beto O'Rourke making hamburgers in his house, and it was just like super cringy and obviously a lizard person trying to act like a human being. And so he was commenting on how awful he did it of making the hamburger. So it kind of put me in the mood to have some hamburgers tonight. So I did that, and I posted a picture of it and sent it to Bird on Twitter saying like, hey, am I doing it right? And I was trolling him because I put a clear plastic spoon in the picture with it, as it to be like, because Beto O'Rourke was using a metal spatula on a nonstick pan, which
what
is
a clown.
Yeah, and so I was trying to, playing off that, but everyone was like, "Oh, what are you doing? I know, you're trolling them. You're doing it so wrong," but no one talked about the plastic spoon. So apparently I'm like an absolute idiot when it comes to making hamburgers, and I don't even know exactly why.
There you go.
But either that or I'm just like really good at trolling. But it worked. It worked better than I planned it on it, but for not the reasons I was trying to do it.
There you go.
So there's that. I should just stick to tractors and Bitcoin, things I know a little better. So, given that, let's talk about something I don't know about. And so, why don't you introduce our episode?
Sure. We'll talk about one thing you don't know about, too, and I want to put this out in the beginning, is our guest from episode 155, James Nixon, is trying to get this business up and running. He did sell a few shirts this weekend. He went to some kind of event and sold a good amount of shirts. But he's looking to scale this and get big, and he was hoping maybe any of our listeners might want to help him out, and we have a GoFundMe for him. We're also going to have him, this is where maybe Rollo doesn't know much about, but we're going to have him on again in the next couple of weeks to talk about what he's doing with these shirts and the community he wants to build. And so stay tuned for that. I think it'll be a good one. But for today's episode, we're going to talk about why Rollo wants to boycott all the boycotts. There's been a lot of them lately. Olive Garden, Jimmy John's, what was the gym, the Equinox gym or something like that, a high-end gym where the guy apparently hosted a Trump fundraiser. I guess Olive Garden, is that also a Trump thing, or that wasn't even real? That was a made-up tweet or something, and then everyone went nuts over it because if you support Trump, you shouldn't shop there or eat there. And then we had Jimmy John's, and I know Rollo, I don't know if he was the one telling everyone to boycott Jimmy John's or telling people not to boycott Jimmy John's. But Rollo, what do you think about Jimmy John's in that situation, and why are people boycotting him?
Yeah, so Jim Lyotard, I guess that's how you pronounce his name, is the CEO of Jimmy John's, and that was over this weekend. There were a picture surfaced of him standing or sitting next to or on an elephant, giving 2 thumbs up of one he just shot when he was on a trip in Africa, on a hunting trip. And so people were, flipping out over that and saying like, "Oh, this trophy hunting's so evil, and we should, it's so terrible, so we should boycott Jimmy John's over." And apparently, they dug up other pictures of him with another elephant. I think there was one of like maybe a jaguar, some other animals out there. And so, most people are okay or just kind of like whatever about hunting, but for whatever reason, when you put the adjective trophy in front of hunting, it makes people lose their minds. And so people the world over decided that it was time to take a stand and boycott Jimmy John's. So do you have any initial responses, reactions to this?
No, I'm interested to hear what you say because I know you hate the environment.
Yes, I do.
We established a couple episodes ago. You don't like recycling, and apparently you don't like animals either.
That's right. So first of all, apparently these pictures are like not new. They're pretty old, and they've surfaced before. And also, I've also heard that he has since said like, "Yeah, I don't do that stuff anymore. I don't like, I've put that in my past, doing the trophy hunting stuff." So it's just one of those things. What bugs me is that people see a picture or like anything else on social media, see a headline, see a quick video clip, and they all decide, usually based on just absolute utter emotion, they decide they know exactly what was going on in someone's head, exactly what the situation was before it, and decide that this person is evil, should be put on blast, and should basically be starved to death because you shouldn't financially interact with him in any way, and you should completely dissociate with yourself from him. Without trying to, look at maybe some details and maybe consider, maybe I don't want to just react and try to ruin this person's life. It was the same thing with the Covington Catholic High School, and we talked about that because I know my initial reaction was wrong about that. I saw the video and I saw this kid. I was like, well, he's got this smug smile on his face. Maybe someone should smack him around before. I wasn't saying someone should hit him, but it's like, he looked like he was acting like a punk. And then you find out the actual story of what happened, and this kid was actually like a hero.
Yeah, it's very restrained given the situation.
Yeah, and it was the other way around. We didn't see what happened before the video clip that was shown was played. So it paints a much different picture. This isn't quite the same because we know that this guy obviously went hunting and shot an elephant, killed it. But I still think that people are overreacting, even outside, even if this were a fresh picture, and he still is a trophy hunter. So yeah, I hate all animals and everything, and think we should shoot every single one of them.
Well,
but like,
I know nothing about hunting. I've never been hunting. I don't know. But what I did see was someone replied to one of those boycotting tweets with like, learn something about conservation in Africa, or
Yes.
And I don't know, so I can't comment on that. I just saw his tweet, but it made me want to learn something about conservation in Africa and maybe why they do that. Maybe there's a reason why they have these hunts.
Well, yeah, the idea that this guy just like goes in and just like, or anyone goes into Africa and just like starts shooting up their animals, and all the people are like, "You evil guys, don't do that to our beloved elephants," I think is kind of ridiculous. I mean, if you're going to go into another continent and do a hunt, spend a lot of money to go hunt a large animal like that, you need like local tour guides, obviously.
Right.
And so, you would think that the local tour guides are not people that the rest of the community hate. And so there's this decision by people on social media when they see stuff like this that they can speak for all the people over there that are apparently deciding that it's okay to go out and do these trophy hunts for their economic, or for just
whatever.
Man, yeah. So there's a couple reasons why I don't think that this type of hunting is a bad thing. Let me take a step back so I'm not stumbling over my words talking about this. But first thing is that they say, oh, elephants are such peaceful animals. Yeah, maybe most of the time, but elephants have the tendency, especially like younger bull elephants, the males, that when like they don't have a strong like alpha male in their lives, they just like go insane basically and just go on rampages and flatten villages. And so when that happens, or maybe when there's a kind of not a great proportion of males to females and stuff, and there's maybe some struggles for dominance. And I'm not an elephant expert, so if I'm getting any of this wrong, someone
All
can
you
correct.
elephant experts.
Yeah, well, we know we have a lot of elephant experts out there listening. But like well, regardless of the reasons, elephants tend to go on rampages, and you can go on YouTube and look this up, and they just go into villages, and not even villages, sometimes like towns, and just like flatten huts and houses and cars and kill people too. So there's kind of a need to keep these animals in check somewhat.
From whose boss?
Yeah, exactly. The other thing is that I don't know what people think. Like people always, I was talking to people this weekend on Twitter and debating about it, and they're like, I don't have a problem with hunting. It's a trophy hunting I have a problem with. And it's like, all right, when this guy shoots an elephant, do you think he just like takes the husks or the head or the hide or whatever he's taken as his trophy and just leaving the rest of the elephant to rot?
I doubt it. I'm sure
right.
that
There's
I'm
a lot.
actually sure that's probably like now as you're talking through it, I'll bet you that's one of the things. Like you pay a lot of money. Like we need food in this town or whatever, and you can pay people to go on and hunt it, and then they chop it up and distribute it or do whatever they do with it, and you probably get a little bit yourself since you made the kill and you paid all the money to be there. But if they're going to eat the elephant one way or another, might as well charge someone a lot of money to go shoot it.
Yeah, they figured out a way to have
for the economy, right?
To have a market for it, and so these people are able to eat from it, and is that so evil? The people are eating the elephant. I mean, what's the difference between hunting that way and if you say someone comes to the U.S. and in the woods of Pennsylvania and it's like, wow, these deer are so crazy, and I'll pay you a huge amount of money to take me hunting, and hey, you can have all the deer meat. I just want the antlers. With that, like, it's the same difference, just a different kind of animal.
Right.
And on top of that, I mean, this might be a little bit more controversial, but a lot of people, I kind of mentioned it before, a lot of people, they don't mind hunt. They say like, well, as long as you're eating the food, eating the animal, or making use of the animal some way, it's morally okay to go hunting. But if you're just doing it to collect a trophy, then it's evil. Now, if you're just like killing willy-nilly, and don't care and just killing just to kill, I think that's weird, and I think that's probably a sign of being a psychopath. But if you're doing it because you enjoy hunting and enjoy the hunt and
tracking,
the tracking and the different things that different animals kind of bring, like I don't understand why consuming the animal makes it okay. Whereas, because I don't think you can like separate, like you're killing it regardless.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we don't like there's a reason why we don't kill other people. It's not because like, oh, well, if we ate the person that we killed, that would make it okay. That's obviously not how we judge killing people. We don't kill people because people are sovereign and they own their own bodies, and by doing that, by killing someone, you're essentially claiming ownership over their bodies. So if you're killing an animal to eat it, you're kind of claiming ownership over it. So like, other than just like not being wasteful, and I know 2 episodes ago I was saying that like being wasteful is kind of, or at least with resources, it doesn't matter. It should be an economic thing. Like I don't understand, but I don't understand like, but that's still like, even in that episode, I was like, all right, if you're just like, buying food and throwing it away and not eating it, I think you're kind of, just because you're like, this is fun for me, I think you're weird and probably a jerk.
Yeah.
Right. And I think the same applies here, but it doesn't make you like a criminal in any sort of way, or like a social pariah, uh, if the point of you doing the hunting is not for just like weird bloodlust. Again,
Right.
I don't think these guys go. I don't think they would spend all the, if it was just straight bloodlust these guys were hunting, I don't think they would spend all the money in the world to go to the other side of the world to hunt these things, especially when they pose, a threat. I mean, I know guys that I've seen. You see stories of guys going hunting for lion or rhinoceros or elephants that it doesn't go well, and they end up getting like maimed or killed sometimes. It can be dangerous. So it doesn't quite make sense that these guys are just like. Do you kind of get what I'm saying? See the point?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm trying to verbalize it. It's kind
I
of
just
a
don't
weird.
know. I just think it's weird. I mean, my thing with this is like it's so strange, and really is a testament to how wealthy we are that people are so concerned with the well-being of animals. I know that makes me sound weird, like I was just accusing you. Like I have a pet that I take care of. But that there's so many charities and people willing to boycott over a hunt. Meanwhile, they all probably support either Donald Trump or Barack Obama, who murder thousands of human beings. And no
Yeah.
one seems to say anything about it. Like, and the reason that they're boycotting, like with Olive Garden, is Olive Garden a Trump thing?
Yes.
Yeah, Olive Garden, and then that gym, that high-end gym guy, is because they were supporting Donald Trump. But it's not like they're saying, no, we can't support them because they contribute to a political candidate who, is evil and bombing people and stealing your money and a crony and whatever. It's because, I mean, maybe you know better because you were the one who wanted to bring this up. I don't really know why they're boycotting it, but I imagine it's because Trump says mean things.
Yeah. I mean,
Where nobody was boycotting anyone, or very few people were boycotting companies that supported Barack Obama while he dropped 26,000 bombs in his last year in presidency. Nobody talked about Yemen. Nobody still talks about Yemen. But we get all riled up over an elephant. And it's like,
well, the other thing
I just don't believe you. I don't think you're really serious. I don't think that you really care. And if you do, you're just so warped and brainwashed. It's so weird.
The other thing too is that like, all right, you want to run this guy out of business. So is the death of one elephant worth the unemployment of all the Jimmy John's employees out there?
Right. Apparently they think so.
Yeah, I mean, there's consequences to these actions, and yeah, I mean they'll get pulled into other areas of the economy, but probably at a lower pay than they would be otherwise. Otherwise, they wouldn't be working at Jimmy John's. And then the other thing too is I wonder how many people that are now boycotting Jimmy John's ever ate there regularly anyway.
To begin with, right? I used to eat at Jimmy John's in college.
I only ate it like once or twice, and it was just kind of like,
Yes, sandwich. I mean it's a it's a sandwich. It's a it's not like getting a hoagie at a local deli where they pack tons of ham and salami and all the other good stuff on it.
Good again.
The Supersa. What else do we put on there? Mortadella.
Sharp provolone.
We just
Sharp
knock off the end of words and pretend we're Italian.
Yeah. And all thinly sliced.
Yes. Pile high.
Metagon garbage, thick sliced.
And that's what I don't want to. I haven't eaten at Jimmy John's in over a decade, but I think that's it's probably like Subway where they just have the pre-sliced meat and slap it on there and you get it and it's whatever. It's fine. It's a sandwich.
Well, yeah, and that's why it's frustrating because it's like I think Olive Garden is not good.
Well, it's a chain restaurant.
Yeah, it is what it is, but it's like, man, I wish now you're making me feel like I gotta go. Because it's very reactionary and it's stupid, and I don't actually change my behavior because people flip out, but it's almost like I just kind of want to almost you have the tendency to like I should go eat at Olive Garden and I'll just like stick it to these people. Like I was on Twitter, I was threatening to people that I was going to go. The more they complained about the Jimmy John's thing, that I was going to book a trip to Africa to go on a trophy hunt.
There you go.
So, um, so I don't know. Is there anything more on the Jimmy John's thing? Like it's weird. It's nice to want to treat animals nicely. Like I treat my cat well.
Right, like you were saying, I think
really
it would
pissed.
be really weird if a person just like went out of their way to harm animals. Like that's something is seriously wrong with that person.
Right. But there's a lot more to hunting than just like pulling a trigger and, killing. Also just the idea that it's easy.
Right.
Like in that sense, like once you're there with the animal in your sight, that it's just really easy to execute the kill. But like maybe give these people a little bit benefit of the doubt, or just like, all right, well maybe this guy doesn't understand.
I don't think that matters.
In what sense?
To them.
Oh yeah. No, it doesn't.
Like to me, yeah. Like before I go crazy and lose my mind. I mean,
well, it's funny because like I should be losing my mind over a guy that shoots an animal, but meanwhile, no one's going to criticize me for hanging out with all my normie friends.
Right.
Actually, there are some libertarians, but like like why are people flipping out this much over that, where people in your own lives are supporting massively worse stuff?
There's not even a question. If you support any of these elected officials, you're supporting worse stuff than killing an elephant.
Right. So I just don't understand the outrage from a lot of, because I saw it among libertarians too. They were flipping out, and a lot of them at the same time, and I'm not saying that everyone, I would say most libertarians I saw were just like, this is such a non-story. Who cares?
And I even get like, if I don't know, if you don't like hunting, you don't like killing things, like I get you, but it's just the level of outrage that kind of annoys me when compared to other things.
Right.
Does that make sense? Like,
yes,
I get it. If you just feel uneasy about killing an animal, I mean, I've never killed an animal other than like stepping on a bug or something. So I'm not a hunter.
Okay,
I don't know what that's like. I can understand people like kind of being like, that's a little weird, but when there's like not even unquestionably worse things that people support every day, and we're just okay with it, and there's no outrage at all, it just seems a little out of perspective.
That's the thing too. I don't know where the line on what animals you're allowed to kill and not to kill for what reasons are too. Like, there are, like, if you have mice in your house, you're going to kill them.
I kill them.
And you're not,
or my cat does.
Right. But people are going to put mouse traps in their house, and they're not going to do it. They're going to throw the carcass away when they're done with it.
They're not going to eat it.
And it's like, yeah, because it's a pest. It's still an animal. I mean, and they still have a lot of the same.
They're mammals.
Right. One of the reasons why they use mice and rats for behavioral studies is because they can.
There's some similarities.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not like they're, and obviously it's cheaper, but they wouldn't do it. They wouldn't use. Obviously, there's a huge expense with using elephants as opposed to mice for these clinical studies. But if mice were not at all comparable, then they wouldn't be able to use them at all.
Right.
So another thing is, like, I don't hunt, but I do go fishing a lot. And part of fishing, like when you use live bait, like that is basically that bait is not coming back alive. And a lot of times if you're using, unfortunately, a lot of my trips, they come back alive. But like if you're baiting a minnow on a hook, a lot of times you're like putting the hook right through the thing's head and then sending it out and getting it so it gets ripped apart by a fish that's coming by. I don't have to use live bait. I could use artificial bait and artificial lures that people use. Does it make me evil for killing minnows and other stuff?
Don't ask questions you don't want the answers to.
Yeah, I'm going to find out. Next episode, I'm going to be like, I thought about it, and I'm not going to go fishing anymore. But I just don't understand where the line is drawn, because it seems pretty arbitrary.
Right.
As opposed to drawing a line between humans and non-humans. And the reason why that you're not allowed to harm my cat is because he's my private property. Now, I might think that you're a jerk for going, I think it's weird to go out and just hurt animals just for the sake of hurting them. And you that's the other thing. Because I keep going down this path of being like, well, if you're just hurting animals, it's weird and you're probably going to be rejected by society. But that's very, very likely, probably 99.999% of the times, if you're just hurting animals for the sake of hurting them, that's probably indicative of major other like sociopathic problems that are going to make you not a sociable person anyway.
Right.
It was funny. I had, talking to someone and he was a libertarian and saying like, well, it's a private property issue. And it's like, yeah, well, in my enclave, then I won't have people who live in my private enclave we won't eat Jimmy John's. And it's like, okay, well, good luck enforcing that.
Right.
Are you really going to pay a premium to like have people who eat at Jimmy John's or other restaurants you don't like violently removed from where you live? I mean, I think people generally do have pretty good sense of morality for this kind of stuff. Like if you found out that I don't know, that McDonald's executed 7 virgins every Friday night, I think the vast majority of people would be like, all right, it's time to stop eating McDonald's. And a lot of the employees, upon finding that out, would be like, all right, time to find another job. But this other arbitrary stuff and just like silly things that people just like to flip out over, like, give me a break.
I wonder, it's just like a virtue signal type deal.
Right. So I think we beat that one to death, or shot that to death.
Yeah, we did.
There was another one I want to talk about that was a little bit different.
Okay.
And
I was going to ask a question too, and you didn't talk about anything other than that before. But real quick, we talk about in a libertarian society, you would have boycott. You could do boycotts. So what's your problem?
No, well, I think, yes. And just like I think businesses can decide to not let people wear blue shirts to work. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean I think it's a good idea that I have to personally support it.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. It's just the level of outrage, and for the reason, to me, it's like, I don't get it.
The other thing too is it's like I see this, these I forget what newspaper put it out, but some news outlet put this thing where it's like, now you can figure out what CEOs made political donations. Made political donations, made it easy to figure that out, so you could like make it easier to boycott them.
And if you base your decisions on politicians, you're a loser.
I would never be able to shop anywhere if
are a
every
loser.
Business. Yes, well, that too. But like, if I based my shopping habits on what the employees and management of businesses did, I would never be able to shop anywhere
at all.
I'd have to be one of those mouth-breathing libertarians that say, I'm going to just sustain myself by farming my entire life.
Ooh.
Oh, hey.
But it's true. You would have to isolate yourself from society.
So, and that's why, like, I think normally, like, the whataboutism is not justified, but I think in this case it probably is, because if you're going to make a big stink about cherry-picking some company over something that you don't like, then there's probably tons of other companies that you really like, brands that you like, where the people that are running them do a lot of bad stuff that you wouldn't approve of. So someone could turn around and say, well, what about that? And guess what? If you want to be consistent, you got to boycott them too. I don't see how you get around that. Instead of just being like, all right, the world's an imperfect place. We're getting there, but a lot of people think a lot of messed up things, and maybe my preferences aren't in line perfectly with all these businesses. So I don't know. Maybe I just got to bite the bullet on some of this stuff and do it and hope in my small corner of the world I can make the world a little bit better of a place by acting in good ways. It just reaches a level of absurdity that if you want to go down that rabbit hole, you're never going to be able to get out in a good spot.
Right. Especially
So
a guy like with the Jimmy John's thing. How long ago was it that he went hunting?
I don't know.
I mean, he's not doing it anymore. Are you supposed to
Yeah.
be like your
And he-
sins of your past? It was, in
well,
quotes. But like we said before, when 9/11 happened, I was a senior in high school and I was fired up and wanted to go to war. Like, should I not be allowed to be a libertarian?
oh yeah, there's going to be stuff that I've said that thought in the past that I completely disagree with now, or
Yeah,
just
and I say I
regret.
was wrong. I mean, what do you want to do? Like, I'm not happy I was in favor of war. I didn't go, you know.
Right.
I
Well,
mean, I supported it. You could argue it's just as bad.
and that's the other
I've changed my stance. I've learned. I don't know.
that's the other outrage mob thing that happens a lot is when there's some person becomes a celebrity for something.
Go back
Norm-
through his tweets from
Yeah.
when he was 16 years old.
Yeah, was it Kyler Murray they did that to?
Yeah, probably. It was, yeah, I know there was someone recently and they went back to like his sophomore year of high school.
Yeah, it said something that was just like something that a kid would say that I've probably said 8 billion times worse stuff.
This
And
week.
it's yeah, right before we started recording. I just called libertarians mouth breathers. So.
Yeah. I mean,
But like, did you see there was something else too that came out that like all like the journalists that are like digging stuff up about like Trump and people around him. Apparently, Trump's White House is now digging up stuff about these reporters.
oh, that's awesome.
And they're like, it's like, whoa, you don't think that's a two-way street? And you hear and stuff like, oh, it's attacking the free press, and that's not. It's like, no, it's not. If Trump were threatening violence against these people,
Shutting them down, putting them in jail.
right, that would be an attack on the First Amendment. But Trump exercising his First Amendment rights that you clearly believe that you have those same rights to do, he doesn't have to check his rights at the door when he becomes president, according to this paradigm that all these people claim to live in.
Sure.
So, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. But there's another thing that I saw, I think this morning, that was a little bit different, but kind of a similar kind of thing, because it's one of those things where someone takes a video of someone acting up, and it turns in a whole another outrage mob thing, where it's not like someone who's like a CEO or a celebrity, just a random person that is acting like a jerk. And a lot of times the person is legitimately being an awful person, but it's like, is it really worth trying to ruin these people's lives over it? Where it's like, you don't know what their day was like before that. Maybe they just had a bad day. If I had a camera put on me at the wrong place at the wrong time, a lot of people might think that I'm just the worst person in the world. But there was one I saw specifically. It was in a parking lot where it was an Asian woman.
Yeah,
I assume
I
she
saw
was
this.
Yes. Okay, so you know about this.
Yeah.
And it looked like the front bumpers, they were the
In
cars
a
were
parking
facing
lot,
yeah, the cars were facing each other in the parking lot.
One was
And-
over the line.
Yes.
I don't know.
It was that some white woman was over the line touching the bumper of this Asian woman who was recording this video, and the white woman was being real nasty towards her and was kind of mockingly mimicking her accent and calling her like a chink and telling her to go back where she came from. We don't want you here. Get out of our country. Just being real nasty. And I saw that. My initial reaction, like everyone else, would be like, wow, what an awful woman. But again, first of all, I'm not going to defend her, calling her those names and mocking her accent and everything. That's not defensible.
It's not nice.
Right. But there's a lot of stuff that we're making assumptions about by watching that small clip of the video that might make our reaction to the situation a little bit different. We're assuming that we know that the woman who drove over the woman that was over the line was the one that drove into the car. We don't know that she might have been there and the woman just wasn't paying. The other woman just drove into her spot, not paying attention to where the other car was and bumped into it. Like, we don't know that.
Right.
Which could very well have been the case. We don't know what the woman, the Asian woman, had said or done prior to her hitting record. I mean, we see the memes all the time where it's like, or just what the media does. Didn't CNN, was it CNN? Or one of the media outlets during one of the hurricanes with the flooding, they had a guy standing on
That's
his knees.
right. Yeah, and then the guy walked out past in the background the one time. Did you see that one?
Yeah. There's all kinds of stuff like that. The media does that all the time because they have the power. When they have the camera, they can create the scene that they want. Well, the same goes for any private individual who has a camera and can hit record when they want. So, and I don't know, and I'm just saying, I'm not saying this because I'm saying that the other woman was being nasty too, and it's one of those
we don't
things.
know. It could have been.
But we don't know.
We just don't know.
So I think it's reasonable to say that there's a good enough chance that that it's one of those takes two to tango kind of things, and it's one like
which is
like,
usually the case,
right? People
don't even like, I was a bouncer in a bar. If one guy was starting something and the other didn't return, now it's you could argue it's justified if someone starts and you want to return fire, but if another guy backed down or walked away, it usually ended. It usually takes two, like you just said, takes two to tango. Usually something starts it and then it continues, and we don't know what happened.
Or maybe the woman just had a really bad day, was in a really bad mood. She bumped in the car, didn't want to have to deal with it, didn't want to have to deal with the camera in her face, and just lashed out. Oh, again, not defending doing that, but
right.
Sometimes
you got to control yourself.
But sometimes we get caught in bad spots, and we want, like, now the world is going to not the world, but whoever sees this video is judging this woman based only on that.
On that video, and we don't know what happened. And that being said, like, I think people should learn and practice controlling themselves and keeping their emotions in check in times like that. But hey, we've all lost our temper before. And that being said, she could be an awful person. Like, I don't know. But that's the point, is I don't know.
Yeah, so the point of all of this is I don't think it's worth not knowing all this backstory stuff. And even I don't think it's worth, even if she was a nasty person, I don't think you necessarily want to, like, make her life even worse.
She could be like
by like harassing her. Like, there's a ton of stuff that could be. So not having all that information and not being able to know for sure, I don't think it's worth the risk. Because even if you say that if she is actually an awful person like that, even if you say that she deserves to have her life kind of thrown around and get whatever's coming to her by the social media mob, I don't think it's worth the risk that there's a chance that there's something we don't know that wouldn't necessarily justify, but make us say, all right, well, maybe I just kind of walk away from this without commenting on it instead of making this woman feel like she's less than dirt.
Right.
It's the same principle as when it comes to courts, saying that, it's better that 1,000 guilty men go free than one innocent man be, convicted or whatever. I don't know what the numbers are for the same, but it's the same principle. It's you got to be careful. I mean, we have these tools, the cameras that we can record things and post them immediately online are amazing. I mean, we see this stuff happening in Hong Kong, and we're able to see in real time oftentimes what's going on with these protests and what's happening with these people. It's an amazing tool. We can record the police and protect ourselves that way with these tools. But at the same time, we gotta be careful stewards of it. We gotta not use it in a way that just like destroys people's lives. Because the other thing is, you have this outrage mob that goes after someone, and 2 days later they just forget about it.
Yeah, move on. It's like drive-by hit.
But then the people have to deal with like losing, maybe they lost their job over it. Maybe they lost family and friends over it. Maybe, there's a lot of lasting consequences that could happen to these people. And it's just like to send a message online or retweet a nasty tweet about someone, just like it doesn't take much effort, but the all of that put together can have a huge effect on the person it's being directed to in a way that is not proportional at all to your efforts in whatever you're doing to virtue signal over it. So it's tough. I mean, I'm not trying to sit here like so many other times when I kind of get all preachy like this and criticize how other people act. Half the reason I do it is
because you think you're better than everyone.
Yeah, exactly. No, half the reason I do it is because I know I have the tendency to act that way too.
Yeah, of course.
And so it's my way of like kind of verbalizing it so I'm preaching to myself mostly to be like, all right, you're saying this, you're sitting on a podcast, losing your mind, wagging your finger at everybody.
Trying to destroy people's lives.
Right. Going to destroy the lives of people trying to destroy other lives. So maybe the next time when you see a video that you want to like rage over and say how evil and awful this person is to the world, maybe take a step back and say, well, all right, well, I don't see the whole story. Maybe I should mind my own business. And that's the other thing too, is that we see, especially like the things like the what was the cake? Was it Cake Boss was the name of that?
I don't know.
The bakery.
Isn't that a TV show?
I think so. I'm not good with my bakery stuff, but the baker that didn't want to bake
the cake and the
right,
yeah. And then there was a pizza shop guy.
Yeah, and these became like local or like national news stories that everyone had to get involved and solve that problem, even though they'll never go anywhere near that cake shop or the pizza place. They would never, like, them raging over it, whether or not they knew about this place would not have made a difference of whether they ever went there or not. But I think we talked about this. I think we did an episode about this, or maybe I wrote an article about it. But if those people in that community were comfortable with the shop, then what business do you have trying to run them out of business when you have nothing to do with them otherwise, other than coming across a news story online?
It's like Thaddeus Russell saying progressives. It was pretty much, I mean, I think it's fair to say progressives or people who consider themselves progressives are more likely to do these boycotts than others, although libertarians have their fair share too. But you would say progressives are the Puritans of the 21st century. Like, everyone must agree with my values or be destroyed.
Yeah, and the other thing too is that, all right, there's certain businesses and companies and things that I don't like to patronize because I have moral issues with it. But especially if you're kind of a Christian and taking that stance from it, and you believe that you need to go and beat your chest and virtue signal over it, pretty sure that in the Bible there's a passage that said, "Don't let your right hand know what your left hand is doing." And if you're doing things so you can brag about it to the rest of the world about how great of a person you are, then you're not doing it really for the right reasons. So if you have certain things that you disagree with, I'm not saying that you shouldn't bring it to light to people. I mean, we're libertarians and we have a podcast complaining about how evil the government is. So,
right.
But at the same time, like, you got to be doing it for the right reasons. Is it because of vanity are you doing it? Or is it because you're trying to make the world a better place? Like, that's why they're called like social justice warriors, is because like they, the metaphor of calling them warriors elicits this kind of like personal vendetta or whatever mission that they have to, make themselves feel good about whatever they're doing. So it's like so many other things. We've talked about it before with other stuff. There's a very fine line it's difficult to know where you are sometimes. So you just got to kind of take a step back sometimes and think about the reasons why you're doing something. Make sure it's they're for good, righteous reasons, not for kind of promoting yourself and patting yourself on the back. As we promote our podcast that you should listen to
and ourselves.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, good stuff.
Yep.
We did not talk about a free market story. Do you have one?
I kind of did, but I forgot about it. Well, I mean, actually, yeah. This is funny. And it's kind of in the same vein too. There's another thing where there is in Ohio that's I don't know if it was like a boys and girls club or something, or if it was it was for a school, I think, that they were raising money. I remember when I was in Little League, we had to sell candy bars to raise money for the Little League. Well, they are auctioning off or doing selling raffle tickets for guns at this school. One of them was like a rifle.
Right.
And they're having like second grade cheerleaders sell the tickets for the rifle. And there's a news article about how some of the parents, a couple of the parents were like very upset over this and flipping out and everything. And they reached the guy who was in charge, and he's like, actually, because of all this outrage, sales went up. So it was a good way to
raise money.
It ended up working out. They got a little bit more what's it called, visibility over the negative press, which is what happens sometimes. I know, and that's the good on the other side of all this. I think it's worth saying that is as bad as it is for a lot of these people when these outrage mobs happen, that a lot of people that disagree with the boycott and the mobbing attitude end up, raising a lot of money or supporting the businesses that get.
The reality is most of these people probably didn't eat at Jimmy John's anyway, but it might make people go, yeah, I'm gonna start patronizing them.
Yeah, I don't think that all like the outrage over Chick-fil-A and what they do is hurting their bottom line.
Probably not.
So that's kind of the good side out of this, is that you sometimes hear nice stories that come of it, but let's not have to have nice endings to these stories. Let's just not make these stories at all.
Yeah, there we go.
So, again, show notes page for this episode is mcflula.com/159. We'll link to, should I put the James thing up there?
Yeah. Yeah.
You set up a GoFundMe?
Yeah, we set up a GoFundMe, just trying to raise some money for him. He's, like we said, he's been in this cycle of prison to the streets, and especially in his last case, state dropped the case due to lack of evidence, and the feds charged him on the same case with the same evidence, and he was acquitted. But of course, that's after spending a lot of time incarcerated, and lost 2 jobs, lost his credit, really struggling to get on his feet. And so we're trying to help him out any way we can.
Aren't they holding like some cash hostage too?
We'll let him tell the story when he comes on again. But yeah, he when he got arrested, he had some cash on him, which they took, and he went to get it back. But they told him that if he wants it back, he has to cooperate, because some of the guys were retried. And the reality is, and of course James knows this case inside and out, but there was no conspiracy. That's the thing. This wasn't a gang. They weren't in on this. He did know one of the people there he knew before the trial. The other 5 he met actually when he was in prison for the first time. So I don't know how much he can add, even if they wanted him to cooperate. Right. But they're not giving him his money unless he answers questions, and he said no. So he's getting his attorney involved. But he's got nothing, and he can't find work. And so if you even have a couple bucks and you want to contribute, we don't like asking for money, but we're trying to help this guy get on his feet.
Yeah, and even if you you want something back for the money you give him, buy a shirt from him once we get the website up. So
yeah, when the website's up, we'll send that link, because I think he has a really good idea, and I think it will work, and we'll have him on to talk about it. But he wants to build like a whole community around these ideas, and talk to kids on the streets, and try and give them some advice, some life advice, and so I think it'll be really good. But
yep,
we'll let him explain it.
Absolutely. So all right, that's all I had. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next week.
Peace.